He's a Ukrainian hero, a Canadian hero, and we thank him for all his service. Thank you.
It's very clear that Nazism has become normalized in the Western world in a way that it really hasn't been since the end of World War II. But this is kind of a function, I think, of a long-standing policy of Western intelligence agencies, notably, of course, the CIA, who viewed fascists, who viewed Nazis as basically the most competent anti-communist fighters. I think there's been a long-term willingness to use fascists, use open Nazis when it serves the political purposes of the West.
They're harboring these neo-Nazis. They're in the ranks of most military NATO countries, pretty much embroiling most nations to go head-to-head with Russia here. And Vladimir Putin, his credibility has shot to the sky here by calling this out last year. He said this was going on. He was proving this was going on. It's going on. Clearly, Canada is going to really suffer diplomatically from this. I don't know how they're going to come back from that, but it does show, like our other guest panels here have said, that, this has always been going on. This is very disturbing. And, well, this is a welcome mat for, I would say, if you are a war criminal, Canada's borders are wide open for you, and they're welcoming you still to this day.
A policy of don't ask and don't tell. Since 2014, when the Canadian government cooperated and collaborated to overthrow the democratically elected government of Ukraine and bring in a coup government, which was riddled with Nazis, the Canadian government has been creating a facade over this government, trying to make it appear it's a democratic government. They don't tell Canadians about the war on the Donbass, and they don't tell them about the neo-Nazis that are in the militia and in the security services. They are very much anti-Russian, and the Canadian government is very much anti-Russian. So they've created a false narrative for 8 years, and they're sticking to it.
Spent almost $900 million on training the Ukrainian military, which includes the infamous neo-Nazi Azov Battalion. That's despite earlier pledges by Canada's defense minister that the country would not provide any support to the regiment, which he described as a small group of, quote, rotten apples. Now, about 2,000 members of the Ukrainian National Guard participated in the training as part of Ottawa's bid to help Kyiv strengthen its military. Photos posted by Ukraine's military on social media clearly show some soldiers wearing Azov Battalion patches provided as they participate in the training with Canadian servicemen. But Ottawa has been distancing itself from the claims, with the Defense Ministry saying it had been Ukraine's responsibility to conduct checks of the soldiers who would participate.
All of us who were in this House on Friday regret deeply having stood and clapped, even though we did so unaware of the context.
Yaroslav Hunka, a 98-year-old ethnic Ukrainian who served in the notorious unit of the Waffen-SS, was greeted in a packed House of Commons chamber as a Ukrainian and Canadian hero who had fought against, quote, the Russians in World War II. Well, that was in reference to the Soviet Red Army, which incidentally had battled the Third Reich alongside the Western Allies. The scandal resulted in the resignation of the House Speaker and an apology from the Canadian Prime Minister, who has deflected any personal responsibility. He came under heavy criticism from opposition politicians in the aftermath of the scandal. Well, after a standing ovation for a Nazi soldier in Canada's parliament, Germany has rushed to distance itself from the scandal. Berlin has admitted its ambassador was present at the event, but said it was not immediately clear at the time that the man being honored was a Nazi. Last year, Ukraine's President Zelensky appeared alongside a soldier wearing Nazi-inspired insignia during a trip to the embattled Kharkov region. The Ukrainian leader's social media team posted a photo of that, but quickly removed it after it sparked outrage. Back in 2015, Russian President Vladimir Putin spoke out against the rise of neo-Nazi sentiments around the world. Over in Estonia, Nazi forces are openly celebrated every year. The annual gathering commemorates the local Waffen-SS division and other Nazi soldiers who fought against the Soviets during World War II. Now, this year, Ukrainian flags were displayed at the event.
Forces are bombarded daily, including with these 122mm shells containing propaganda leaflets.
Intense artillery battles are currently ongoing between our Lugansk forces and the Ukrainian military.
The Lugansk Republic's militia forces are now shelling the Ukrainian army and neo-Nazi battalions with propaganda shells calling for them to surrender and explaining how to do it the right way to save their lives. The joint forces are now advancing on the Donbas front, deep into the DPR. Ukrainian forces have few options to choose from: surrender, withdraw, or be completely destroyed.
Побросали все свои примочки американских налогоплательщиков. Ну и, собственно говоря, так он и попал к нам. Видео, ну, почему бы и не снять? Они снимают, вот и мы хотим снять. Выражаем огромную благодарность за безвозмездно оказанную помощь американских налогоплательщиков. Мы будем пользоваться этим сполна. Стоимость его именно 12 миллионов. По стрельбе, да, достаточно хорошая ракета противотанковая. Наводится тепловизионной камерой, соединяемой к нему. Ну, достаточно серьезный аппарат. Давайте смотреть на вещи своими глазами. Чтобы научиться ездить на том же самом леопарде, нужны годы тренировок. Там они просят самолеты, на них тоже нужны годы тренировок. К этому, ну дай обезьяне гранату и посмотри, что будет. А плюс, когда его еще под наркотой, под всеми синтетивными веществами, это, ну, реально страшно. Да, и в него стреляешь, ему все равно бежит дальше. Любой, наверное, русский военный скажет это. Он это лично видел. И при осмотре их практически у каждого есть что-то. Человек становится просто обезумевшим. Он работает только на инстинкте. У него нет страха. Есть инстинкт. Выжить, бежать и просто все. Если страх, он где-то глушит тебя и где-то говорит: стоп, здесь нужно переждать, и это правильно, то там нет такого. Просто на убой. Не едят, не спят.
We welcome you very cordially to Davos and looking very much forward to the discussion.
It's not conflict or climate. It is disinformation and misinformation.
No one politician anywhere in the world can undo what is happening now.
Overall, Russia is pushing hard. More support, more advanced support, heavier weapons, and more modern weapons.
We have to innovate, and a great example of that is now the factories that make mRNA vaccines.
The need for fighting the warming of our planet, so climate change.
To open an account, you need to have an ID.
Right.
And I have to say that when I started this job, there were actually very little countries in Africa or Latin America that had one ubiquitous type of ID, and certainly that it was digital, and certainly that it was biometric. And we've really worked with all our partners to actually help that be, to grow this. And the interesting part of it is that, yes, it is very necessary for financial services, but not only.
Sure.
It's also good for school enrollment. It's also good for health, who actually got a vaccination or not. It's very good to get your subsidies, from the government. So this has not only effect to the financial services. It's a very important issue.
I'm here to tell you that the Western world is in danger. And it is endangered because those who are supposed to have to defend the values of the West are co-opted by a vision of the world that inexorably leads to socialism and thereby to poverty. Unfortunately, in recent decades, motivated by some well-meaning individuals willing to help others, and others motivated by the wish to belong to a privileged caste, the main leaders of the Western world have abandoned the model of freedom for different versions of what we call collectivism. We're here to tell you that collectivist experiments are never the solution to the problems that afflict the citizens of the world. Rather, they are the root cause.
The way to a new order, so we are between orders. Do you agree with that?
The post-Cold War era has come to a close. We're at the start of something new. We have the capacity to shape what that looks like.
Tectonic plates of power are shifting. And as a result, we face the most dangerous world in decades. In order to strengthen our collective defense and at the same time support Ukraine in its existential fight, we need a whole-of-society approach. We need a war-fighting transformation of NATO. It will be the main focus of today's session, led by the Supreme Allied Commander transformation. Ukraine is the will have our support for every day that is to come, because the outcome of this war will determine the fate of the world.
What is at stake at this very moment? What is at stake this very moment are some of the guiding principles around the NATO alliance.
We are brought closer together by the values and worldview. It would be fair to say that BRICS unites like-minded countries, sovereign countries that represent different continents, models of development, religions, civilizations and cultures. All our states stand for equality, good neighborly relations and mutual respect, for high ideals of friendship, for the global prosperity and well-being.
Hello? The latest Zircon hypersonic missile systems should be noted have no analogs in the world, for which there are no obstacles. Their delivery to the Russian armed forces will begin in the coming months.
Поднимающийся с земли быстро увеличился в объеме. Через несколько секунд после взрыва диаметр пылевого столба составлял около 10 километров. Увеличиваясь в размерах, облако
What is at stake this very moment are some of the guiding principles around the NATO alliance.
How do you like my garbage truck? This truck is in honor of Kamala and Joe Biden. You see something that said, take a look at what happened